Everybody joining me on the show today is Bill Bender, Sporting News national writer. And Bill, we hadn't talked since the day or two after the national championship when Georgia beat Alabama. But I appreciate you coming on the show as we get week one started up.
Yeah, wow, it's been that long. Well, Phillip, thanks for having me on. Another season, another week, another year. It should be a lot of fun.
I figure since me and you usually end the season together, it would be just right to begin the season together. So that's why one of the reasons I asked you on the show and your wealth knowledge of college football. But before we jumped into a little bit of week 0 and week 1 games, you have a podcast now out, and checked it out. You can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, Bill Troche and I, my editor, we started one up for this season. I figure I'm on the radio enough, but might as well do my own, and that way I'm having a little bit more fun with it. It's fun. We've got a good opinions. We've got good content at Sporting News, and the guys at Irish Breakdown were pretty good about bringing us on. So we're going to try it this season and see what happens.
Absolutely. I'll take that. Y'all do a really great job with it, and I always enjoyed content over to Sporting News as well. And so week 0, which, the biggest thing out of that was Northwestern and Nebraska. I don't know, Bill, and I know you wrote about it, and you all over it on Twitter during the game. Nebraska, I mean, it's different offensive coordinator, different quarterback, but same coach, same story. What happened to them on Saturday?
Well, they shouldn't have kicked an onside kick when they did, and that was really it. I mean, they don't get that onside kick. The rest of it goes in a handbasket, as the saying goes, and it just got bad from there. Northwestern kind of punked them up front with Peter Skoronsky and a couple other guys, and the rest is history. So, more heat on Nebraska, more heat on Scott Frost, obviously, and I'm not going to speculate. I think he's going to get through the season. Some of my buddies think they're not sourced by any means. Some of my buddies that text me are wondering if it's going to be this week. I think he gets through, but obviously there's a lot of pressure to win some football games now.
Yeah, they had 2 11-point leads in that one, the early 14-3 lead, and then the 28-17. And just, I don't know, just for you watching that, when you see the onside kick, I mean, can you come up with any rationale why you would do that?
Yeah, I don't know. They had total control of the game at that point. It allowed Northwestern to get back in the game with this corresponding touchdown. And again, it was kind of up front. The Northwestern looked pretty good on the offensive line. They kept their head. And when the game was on the line, Northwestern won. And it just goes down as another one of those mind-blowing close losses for Nebraska and Scott Frost. So we'll see where they go from here. I think they'll win their next one. But, the next time they'll kind of be in the crosshairs is when they play Oklahoma in a few weeks.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Yeah, that's 5-21 in one-score games. It just seems like that's an issue they just cannot get past so far with Scott Frost there at Nebraska. Now, as we go into week 1, everybody's going to be playing this week, and just looking at college football as a whole, and it just looks like on paper, Alabama and Ohio State, Georgia. Everybody looks at those 3 are like almost in a class of their own. And I know, in a lot of in the coaches poll and in the AP poll, a lot of people are looking at Clemson as maybe that 4th team. For you, once you get past those 3, who is the big contender in your opinion when you get past those 3?
Well, those 3, it's going to be hard. Clemson's a team that I think can hang. We're wondering how they'll respond to having 2 new coordinators. It's one of those things where I think it's really those 4, and then there's a bridge. Notre Dame has a chance to prove it Saturday. They play Ohio State. Well, that's the stage you can prove you belong. Michigan, Texas A&M, Utah all have questions. I think Michigan and A&M are kind of the pick because A&M's got to deal with Alabama in their division. Michigan's got to deal with Ohio State in their division. And they both have to go on the road to play those teams.
Yeah, very true. So I've been looking at, and I was trying to say, okay, who's someone that, and you mentioned a team that maybe could rise up and be that team. Now, this is a team I think would have to go undefeated, but Utah, because I like what they got with Cam Rising at quarterback. They're going to be physical. Running back Tavion Thomas. I know they got to replace some offensive linemen. And they play Florida this Saturday. They got the October 15th matchup with USC, which I'm sure but that will be a very interesting game when those 2 teams play each other. But when you look at Utah, and my crazy for thinking that this could be a team that could slide up there if they went undefeated and become that fourth team?
Well, a lot of people like them as that fourth team because of the opportunity they have in week one. It's not an easy one. Going to Florida and, Florida, the swamp and everything you got to contend with there. New coach, new look, Anthony Richardson unleashed. I mean, that's a potential upset in week one. But if Utah wins, certainly, yeah, they'll be in position for the Pac-12 to make it happen, make a playoff run maybe, and get the conference in the playoff for the first time since 2016, which I think that's the longest drought among the Power 5 conferences.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's not been a good offseason for the Pac-12 anyways. They could use some good news and getting a team in the playoff. And, just looking at that, just how important do you think it is for the sport to have a team on the West Coast make the playoff?
It hasn't been too terribly important for the sport the last 6 years. I think it'd be nice. I mean, if USC got in there or Oregon got in there, I mean, it's the conference's struggle is maintaining interest, maintaining eyeballs, getting in the national playoff picture, those kind of things. So, yeah, I mean, it's not easy if you're a Pac-12 school. I think USC could change that because there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on Lincoln Riley. And with that means there'll be more eyeballs on Utah. I think Oregon's got an interesting opportunity as well. I mean, I don't like their odds at Georgia, or not at Georgia, but basically at Georgia in the Chick-fil-A game. But it's Georgia by default in some ways. But, yeah, I mean, that's how you increase your profile. You win in those big week one, week two type games.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up Oregon, and I was going to talk about that Georgia game. And, with Georgia, I mean, I think you look at a team, it really feels like Alabama 2.0, what they've got going in Athens. And you're right. I mean, every time they play a team in Atlanta, it is a Georgia home game. I mean, they've seen that in whenever in the SEC championship game. But when you look at Georgia, do you see this as a team that has reloaded, or is there some form of rebuild? Not really to an extent like they're not going to be good. We know they're going to be really good. They're going to be a playoff contender this year. But where are you at with Georgia going into this year, trying to repeat as champion?
Well, they'll be in the mix. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Anytime you lose that many guys to the NFL, and they lost 15, I mean, it's not like, we're just going to all those guys. But they've got enough talent on the defense to reload there a little bit. I think Stetson Bennett in the offense should be pretty good. Got one of the nation's best tight ends, if not the best tight end, in Brock Bowers, and some freshman running backs they're excited about. So I don't think they're going to drop off by any means. But anytime you lose that many guys, LSU found that out in 19. Alabama's had to reload by their standard, but still. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're good enough to win every regular season game, but is that enough to beat Alabama? I don't know. I don't know if it's enough this year, but, all they have to do is win the game in front of them.
Yeah, that's it. And it's usually not good for you when Alabama's going to be coming at you in a revenge game, which would be the SEC championship. These two teams meet in that situation. And you talk about Stetson Bennett, Bill. Have you ever seen a national championship quarterback want to be benched so much by a big portion of his fan base? With Stetson Bennett, it's like I thought maybe after, and we talked about this after the national championship game, he was going to get that respect. It still feels like he's getting a little bit of that disrespect despite what he did in a national championship and leading Georgia to that title.
Yeah, and I mean, that's because the most popular kid on campus is always the backup quarterback. I get that. But I think he earned himself some leash because they did win a national championship. You can't take that away. And they're still going to be in position to win all these ball games. Is he a first-round quarterback, field-changing quarterback like Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud? Probably not. But that's okay. I mean, and as long as they keep winning, nobody's going to care. I mean, J.T. Daniels, people wanted him to start in the championship game last year, and right now he's going to be starting on Thursday night for West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You talk about the tight ends. I mean, you talk about not just Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, Eric Gilbert. I mean, I just, if I'm Georgia, I don't even put a receiver out there if I got those tight ends. No,
I mean, it's they're going to be pretty good offensively, and like I said, I think early in the season that could be a thing. But, I mean, they still got dudes on the defense. They got Jalen Carter.
Oh, yeah.
They got Nolan Smith. They got Kelly Ringo and all the 4- and 5-star recruits they piled up. So, again, they may not be the game defense legendary unit that they had last year, but I still think they're going to be pretty good on that side of the ball.
You know, with the game at Oregon, you look at Oregon too. New head coach Dan Lanning, former Georgia defensive coordinator. You got Bo Nix at quarterback. We know what the up and down nature he was at Auburn. Do you see any route for Oregon where this is a good game going into the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think they're going to hang around. I think they are. They've got some talent as well. I mean, Bo Nix, he's going to have to take some chances. But defensively, they've got Noah Sewell and Justin Flo. And offensively, they have a bunch of good skill position players. Guys like Seven McGee, Troy Franklin, some speed on the perimeter. And I'm assuming they're going to go with a short passing attack and try to run the football a little bit. They don't have Travis Dye, who transferred. But, I mean, Cardwell was pretty good in a limited sample last year. So I think the Ducks can – 17.5 is just an awful lot of points for a game where you're dealing with number 3 and number 12.
Yeah, it's just, it all comes down when, I'm in Alabama, good Bo or bad Bo, just Oregon fans have to find out what that's all about.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's, again, if Dan Lanning knows Kirby Smart well, I do think Georgia will win by double digits, but I just, like I said, 17.5 looks a little high.
The Notre Dame and Ohio State game, of course, Ohio State, it's just like them in Alabama. It's just lose receivers, just add more, and they're going to have them go in the first round. Losing, Olave and Wilson last year. But just with C.J. Stroud, what they have with Henderson there at running back, and then obviously Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, what do you do as a defense, you think, to at least – you're not going to stop them, but at least slow them down in this situation?
Well, I mean, if you're Notre Dame, they've got to keep those receivers in front as best they can. I mean, Ohio State's going to score points. I think it's more on, with Ohio State at home, they've got to play them like Michigan and Oregon did last year, where they run the ball, stay patient, don't freak out if Ohio State scores a couple touchdowns. The running game on the offensive side will be the key because they're trying to settle in Tyler Buchner, a quarterback who's trying to – do that. So, I mean, all of those things are at work, and Notre Dame can hang around. It's another one where it's 17.5 points, and if you're not, you're a top 5 team. So, for me, I think if they settle in and do all those things, and they do have a good group of senior experienced linebackers, it could be a fun game in Columbus on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's just always fun when you see these classic teams, get together like that. And it would have been a Saturday game. That's going to be an electric atmosphere up there at Columbus. But it is going to be fun seeing those two drive up to see what Marcus Freeman has. Also, just Ryan, because we talked about these two matchups, but what's a underrated matchup this weekend you think people should pay attention to that maybe is not getting as much national attention as it should?
Well, I mean, the other ranked game, Arkansas and Cincinnati. I mean, what does Cincinnati have for a sequel? Arkansas is a team a lot of people are pointing to as a potential SEC West sleeper around KJ Jefferson and some of the guys they have coming back in Kendall Browse's very high-powered offense. So I think that's a game certainly to watch. And, Florida-Utah, like I said, it's in that primetime window, but it's huge. That's a huge playoff piece for Utah, which we talked about, and it's a huge piece for Florida, getting off to a new start with Billy Napier. I think if they win, which they could win, a lot of attention. They'll probably be in the top 25 right away.
And I guess I'll throw this out there too. I mean, that's a game there. I mean, a lot of people are looking at Anthony Richardson as a potential first-round, second-round draft pick, but if he comes out and has a big game in that one, do you think his name starts getting thrown around maybe early season Heisman consideration?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the quarterbacks that's definitely in focus in week one. Anthony Richardson, Quinn Ewers at Texas. Obviously, Caleb Williams at USC is going to get a lot of attention no matter what. But, yeah, I mean, that's while they're there. So, very interesting to see. It's going to be a fun weekend. I've spent all summer talking about off-season stuff, and it's finally good to be talking about some games.
Yeah, we'll still hear about the other stuff, but it'll be to the back burner. I'm glad the games are here myself. That's why I was looking forward to last week to week 0. But it's going to be a fun weekend, Bill, and I appreciate you coming on the show. I always appreciate you taking the time to come out on and talk all things college football. But if the listeners wanted to follow you online, where can they find you and all the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm at BillBender92 on Twitter, and we've got all kinds of stuff coming out this week. I've got features on Cameron Ward, a Washington State quarterback, Jackson Smith-Jigba, the Ohio State receiver, tons of Ohio State Notre Dame content, picks, everything you need to get ready for what's going to be a fun 5-day weekend here starting Thursday with the Backyard Brawl.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be fun, like I said. And Bill, once again, I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope we can do this again sometime.